Welcome to another edition of Spits and Suds. So glad to have you with us along this holiday season. I'm Gavin Spittle of 105.3 The Fan. Always a pleasure to have our NHL insider, our Spits and Suds guy from EP Rinkside. His terrific Substack is called Shap Shots. Obviously, he stars in a movie, the Late Game movie, which you can pick up on Amazon. Wrote a book called We Win Here along with our man Steven Meserve. What a terrific holiday gift that would be. Details the Texas Stars history along with some Dallas Stars cool stories. He is the greatness of Sean Shapiro. Also want to add, as I mentioned last night on the podcast, write some terrific articles for D Magazine. How are you, Sean? He is live from Plymouth, Michigan for the World Junior Camp of Team USA.
Yeah, you can hear everything going on in the background right now behind me. I'm sure with the watching Team USA get ready to go here for day 2 of World Junior Camp before they head off to Ottawa for World Juniors. I think it's only a short camp right now because of they came in with people may have sort of listened, pay close attention to World Junior stuff. You may have seen Canada had about a 50-person roster, played multiple exhibition games to figure out their roster. Team USA went a little bit differently, where there's 29 players in camp right now, 29 on the ice that I'm watching right now, and they're only making 4 cuts, so down to a roster of 25. Basically, this team is pretty well known of who it's going to be. A couple final decisions to make, and obviously the big one, Gavin. And I'm sure you and I should do a big World Junior preview if we can next week. We should try to get that done because that'd be a lot of fun, I think. But obviously, Team USA trying to become the first American team to ever repeat, with a gold medal at this event. So that's what everyone's working towards here right now in Plymouth.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about this American team and just looking at it and then looking at how many players are the property of NHL teams. It's fascinating to see this camp. As you mentioned, a well-developed roster already. And correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, one representative from the Dallas Stars will play in this World Juniors. It's last year's top pick, Emil Hemming, and he'll play for Team Finland.
Yeah, Emil Hemming will play for Finland, and then right now, as I'm watching the ice right now, Aram Minnetian is on the ice right here with Team USA. Right now.
Oh, okay.
So we've got Aram was part of the. I'm saying Aram because you and I have been trying to make sure we get the pronunciation of the last name right. So, but he is a returner that won World Junior Gold last year and part of the team this year. So those two, and then another fun local tie, and I chatted with him a little bit yesterday. Frisco's own Blake Fiddler is the only 18-year-old defenseman, only draft-eligible defenseman invited to camp, and he looked pretty good at camp. Yes, he looked pretty good at things yesterday. So some Stars and local ties here right now.
Yeah, well, thank you for correcting me. That is terrific that we have multiple Dallas Stars. And to me, Sean, I love this. The Prospects Tournament has changed prior to the season. I used to love that tournament, and I still like it from various aspects, and I love the fact that you cover that. But to me, World Juniors is really where you can see the separation of some of these kids, and it's the best of the best, and it's the future. And I also love how much pride these kids take in this tournament and how much it means to them.
Yeah, it was. It's one of my favorite tournaments to watch. It's actually a tournament I've never actually covered in person yet. It's on my personal. It's on my personal hockey bucket list of things to cover, which I'm slowly working my way through. And one of the things about it that I love, and talking to a bunch of the American kids who are going to be part of this team and were part of this team last year, there's you would think for Team USA, right? There could be some pressure, whatever you want to call it, of being the defending champ. And I love the bit of the attitude and mentality of it, where it's no, it's yes, but we're embracing that. This American team is embracing that. They're embracing the target on their back. And they're also, I love the terminology where Trey Augustine, who's going to be the goalie, and is a name hockey fans should know because he's going to be an NHL goalie at some point for the Detroit Red Wings. And one of the best goalies in college hockey right now for Michigan State. Trey Augustine was the goalie last year for Team USA and everything like that. And he used the terminology where they're not defending they're not defending a gold medal, they're chasing another. Where it's it's a mentality of let's be aggressive about what we're going after. It's not we're sitting at the top waiting for people to come at us. Let's bring it to them. And that's going to be part of the way that this Team USA team is going to play too. Like it's a group that's got some good chemistry already. Anyone who is a college hockey fan will notice the way Team USA plays. The way it will play very similar to the University of Denver because Denver head coach David Carl is coach for Team USA, and they play a very exciting style of hockey that I personally love watching. And there's defensemen get to join the rush. It's free. There's a lot of creativity allowed, and it's exciting to watch for me with this group. And there's also some like great chemistry. Like we're going to be off the bat. There's been the line with there's going to be a full Boston College line, Gavin, with Ryan Leonard, Gabe Perreault, and then James Higgins, who was a potential number 1 pick this year coming up in the draft. So, a lot of fun to watch, and you see the passion, and you talk to kids about it. Like this is, it's, for lack of a better word, there's a lot of awards and tournaments that you can enter, that you can win multiple times in your career. Like obviously, I'm like winning the Stanley Cup is the ultimate goal, sure, right? Obviously, but you can win the Stanley Cup at 22 or 38. You only get 1 or 2 chances at World Junior, and I think that's a big thing. It's a big pressure point that can crack some kids, and and I say kids because they're 18, 19 years old, but and then some other guys thrive under it.
Yeah, the medal means something, and that's pretty special. I wanted to ask you, have you heard much about Hemming and as far as his development with the Barrie Colts? It's interesting. I was looking at the scoring for Barrie, and he currently sits 7th, and it was nice to see Brad Gardner, another Stars future prospect. He was a 3rd-round pick, and he, I believe, is in the top 5 in scoring for Barrie.
If I remember correctly, there's also Tristan Bertucci is also a Stars prospect playing for Barrie.
Yep.
Now, I last saw Hemming in the summer full-time myself. I'm actually talking to later today. I don't have the answer right now, but after this skates, one of the American goalies in this camp is Sam Hillebrandt, and Sam Hillebrandt is the goalie for Barrie. And so I'm actually talking to Sam after the skate today, and I was going to ask Sam for his impression on all 3 of those Dallas guys, which I'll give a tease. I'll have that on the Substack at some point this week.
That's good.
But so yeah, I have. I haven't watched Emil live since the summer. I've watched a couple Barrie games, and there was a little bit, from my understanding and talking to some other scouts that I know that I worked with over at UP and everything like that. There's a little bit of an adjustment period early on, just kind of getting used to the North American game, and that's why he chose to come over to the OHL this year instead of Finland. And since then, it's been really smooth, and that's a great sign. And I think from a Stars perspective, this is what they wanted to see when he picked Barrie over staying in Finland and everything. So I think it's going to be a fun tournament for all of us to watch from a Stars perspective to see what he does on the international stage.
In your Substack, you wrote, it's time for Lian Bichsel to get a place in Dallas. Some thoughts on the Stars' big defender. It's a terrific read. Boy, you hate to make a determination after 3 games, but I'm going to make a determination after 3 games, Sean. That is, fits in perfect. It's even last night with Heiskanen, even though Heiskanen and Lindell played the most minutes, it was just nice to see that he has that ability.
Yeah, and for me, I made this note, and I think I want people to understand this, and I made this note in my story, but it's important. It's worth repeating. There are things that need to improve. I'm not saying he's perfect. I don't want anyone to think that, or he's not perfect. That's not what anyone's saying. But I look at the things that he still needs to add to his game. I think he's at the point where he's no longer going to add them at the AHL level. There's been a couple zone coverage misses. There's been a couple losing a man. There's been a couple little things here and there that he doesn't make those mistakes in Texas, because Texas plays a slightly different defensive zone system. And he also is there. I'm a big believer that at some point you have to learn the NHL at the NHL level. I think there is and so for me, I don't see the benefit of him going back to Texas, because I don't see where the growth comes from the AHL level anymore. I think he's moved to the spot where you let him learn from some of the mistakes he's going to make. His play has been great. And as he gets the positional down, as he gets some of the other game management down that he'll learn, just imagine adding that to the raw tools we've already seen in these 3 games. And Kevin, I challenge anyone to build a better Stars defense of pairings right now that doesn't include Bichsel, and I don't see it.
So roster-wise, if Bichsel stays, obviously there are, Matt Dumba will come back, and there's some interesting decisions to be made. How do you think Jim Nill and his crew finagle this?
Honestly, I think you carry 8 defensemen. I know people don't like that, and there's going to be some people who get worried about Jim Nill's famous line, "You can never have too many defensemen." But look, this year with the Stars' schedule after the Finland trip, it's so condensed and everything. Like, injuries and attrition are going to happen. Like, I honestly think it might take care of itself quite a bit with 8 defensemen. Like, no one expected Thomas Harley not to play last night. They needed. I think with the nature of the Stars' schedule after that Finland trip and how condensed it is, I think carrying 8 is not a bad thing, because there's no way you're going to stay completely healthy. There's no way you're not going to need to load manage some guys. Like Esa Lindell playing 30 minutes in December, it's a statement. It's also really taxing. So I'm a big believer in this. I think you carry the 8 and you manage the personalities, and this is a team that the ultimate goal is winning the last game in June. And I think when you present it that way, I think you get everyone on board.
Hey, Esa was always solid, Sean, but I feel like he's taken his game to a new level. And have you seen something that, would make sense that, wow, he's doing this more, or he's doing that, or is this just a veteran seeing the game better? I mean, like I said, I'm not saying anything negative, but I just thought solid defense, but got an expensive contract, and, he was solid. And now it's like, wow. I don't know, when he was playing with Tanev, we had talked on Spits and Suds, was his improvement based on Tanev, and that was one of the offseason questions. And the game has just been taken to, he's just like, it's such a great value contract now in your top 4.
Yeah, I think part of it is I think part of it was, I think Esa was a bit of a victim of contract before, where I think there was times where people saw the big number and then used that to hurt his narrative a little bit. And I think there's also a true reality of he had a couple down years, and I think we're seeing a little bit more of what we thought was coming potential-wise early on. You go back to him and the John Klingberg pairing that we all thought was going to be a generational pairing, or whatever terminology you want to use, right? So this year for me, for Lindell, is I think he has basically really, I look at him as someone who has effectively embraced the role and is now applying that NHL experience to everything about it, right? Like that to me is the big, that's the big thing that I look at it, where he is, there's something that you can only learn with time and experience. And it's one of the reasons it's funny to connect all this stuff, is one of the reasons I want to see Lian Bichsel start getting that time and experience now in the NHL.
So with the Bichsel story, obviously there are some other things that might kind of take second fiddle, but we still need to talk about. And one, I still think this team needs more scoring. And that has kind of been masked by some great defensive play, and also masked by the fact that Jake Oettinger has not given up more than 3 goals since late November against Carolina when he had that tough third period. But, another game where he just gave up 1 goal, that's 2 in a row. I mean, he's just playing at such a high level this season.
Yeah. And I've talked multiple times about Oettinger being at that spot where he is this is a prove it year, right? Like, just not like he got the deal, he got the contract, but it's like, now you got that money, now go prove why you earned it. And he's been doing that. And he's been winning the big games, he's been winning the big battles. Like, to me, Connor Hellebuck is still the best American goalie and the best goalie in the world, in my view. But it's now at the spot where you're like, if he was like, you would go into Jake Oettinger with the starting goalie for Team USA in February at that Four Nations tournament. Like, hey, we probably have the best goalie in the tournament, and that's a credit to what Jake has done and where he's going, and like it's big.
That first period, I thought Washington came out flying. I mean, winners of 10 in a row on the road. Boy, they have that high tip drill down. I mean, they were crossing Oettinger and just looking to put any kind of deflection. It was really pretty. I did want to spend a moment on Washington because obviously this is a Stars focus, but I love having you on because we can talk different aspects of the NHL. What a turnaround for this franchise. And watching them last night, I'm like, whoa, they are not going away. They have some, I mean, you look at the offseason and acquiring Chikrin and just some of the players that they've added, and it seems like they've all gelled together, and this is without Ovechkin. It's just, they looked really good last night.
Yeah, and I think Spencer Carter is a really good pitcher.
Yeah.
I think he is I think last year was kind of, they got into the playoffs last year, right? It was the whole dramatic game 82, the Flyers pulled their goalie and Washington gets in on the empty. Like, I think it's something where he's done a really good job. Ovechkin's there and Ovechkin's playing, but part of that, the difficult part of that job is how do you manage the future of Ovechkin, the present with Ovechkin, but also continue to build a good foundational team that can continue into the future that isn't reliant. And that's a challenging thing. Like, I don't think people realize how challenging that can be. And so Carberry's a really good head coach. So I think he's done a great job there. And that team, you can tell, even they play an effective style. They play it's very. They don't miss their routes. It's a good team to watch, and I give a ton of credit to the head coach and kind of figuring that out, because that's a situation where, honestly, it's not a job that I thought it was a very difficult job for him when he took it over, even with them making the playoffs last year.
Yeah, and then we have to look at the coaching job of that, acquiring Pierre-Luc Dubois and getting what many thought he'd be and many couldn't get out of him. Still only 26 years old, 21 points, and just having a real solid year. I thought he played really well last night. I mean, didn't really show up on the score sheet, but, I mean, he was all over the ice.
Yeah, he's the Dubois experiment has gone bad poorly for multiple things, right? And I think last night he was good for Washington, and I'm really interested to see how keeps going and where it is. But like, you look at his recent stretch of, he didn't have a point last night against Dallas, obviously, but coming into that game, I think he had 5 points in the last 4 games or something like that. So he's really kind of found it lately. And once again, I go back to, let's give Carberry some credit for helping a guy who was effectively wanted out or was discarded multiple times, depending on which way you want to put it. And he's now kind of embracing playing more of a bit of a team game too than he was before, in my view.
Let's talk about the Duchene, Marchment, what would have been Sagan line. Donoff on there sometimes, Stankoven on there sometimes, and Stankoven's kind of cooled off after a hot start. What are your thoughts on who should be put on that line for a longer period of time, and then kind of go into what you're seeing out of Logan Stankoven that he's cooled down lately?
Yeah, I think it's more snake pin than anything with Stankoven, right? Where I think he's like, he's cooled down a bit, but there's chances. He's still been creating chances. He's still been around. Just hasn't been finishing. So I think Stankoven he just needs one of those ugly ones, right? Like he needs one of those weird ones. He needs the type of goal that was that Bichsel scored last night where it hits off the defender's hand and goes in. You need one of those kind of just like uncork things and get it going. I like him with Marchment and Duchene. The thing I love about Marchment and Duchene is I think they can play with anyone. And I think who their third player on their line isn't that important, which is great because I think that allows you to figure out other combinations and then you can effectively use Marchment and Duchene to get other guys going. Like say you've got a cold streak and you need to get I mean, Ropa Hintz is a bad example right after how well he did last night, but say you get to a bit of a cold stretch where, hey, that Robertson Hintz line is a bit off for a night. Maybe you mix it up for a night where you throw Hintz on the wing with that line. I know you have to figure out the face-offs and who's going to do that, yada, yada, yada. But either way, I think Marchment and Duchene, I think having them effectively play with a little bit of everyone isn't the worst thing in the world. I think it really can be a tool for both of them. Because in theory and hopefully, come playoff time, Tyler Seguin will be back with them.
Yeah.
So I think it's not a bad thought process to think about. That is the revolving door where you use it to help get other guys going. And I think that's a great way to look at that duo. And right now I think it's a good spot for Stankoven. And then maybe in the future it's where you throw a Dadonov, or maybe it's the perfect spot for Gavin. Maybe Gavin is the perfect spot for when Jim Mill decides to add a forward.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the perfect spot for them right there. Or that's the placeholder spot where, you know what? We're going to put him with Marchment and Duchene because anybody can play with these guys.
And I wanted to talk about Duchene. I mean, what a terrific goal the other night in overtime, pulling the puck in and just a really nice win against St. Louis. And Falk said after the game, I knew what he was going to do. I need to do a better job of stopping him. But, I mean, you just saw that speed in overtime and just the confidence he has. I mean, it really is cool that he's found a home here. I mean, looking back on Nashville, the points were there, at times, but it just didn't seem like it was a perfect fit. And I just, it's fascinating to see players go from one situation and then thrive in others.
Yeah, sometimes we saw the classic Val Nichushkin left Dallas and went to Colorado, and everyone was like, how come this didn't happen in Dallas? Sometimes a change of scenery it's just needed, right? The other thing about it too, and I think I want to give not as much in Nashville. I think in Nashville he was more of a victim of contract and expectation, not living up to what that money is. I think it's an important thing to note in Dallas. The money, the dollar amount he's playing at in Dallas, is like if he was making double his salary, we'd be expecting a little bit more out of him, right? Like instead he's outperforming expectations because of the salary. It's amazing how contracts handle that. And we've talked about this, but the other thing with Matt Duchene, I think it's an important thing. It's an important life thing when you talk about it. It's like got people grow and mature. I think the Matt Duchene who not snuck off the ice, but remember who famously it felt like he snuck off the ice when he got traded from Colorado to Ottawa, and or the Ottawa to Colorado, whichever one it was, and was known for not really pushing. Matt Duchene's a guy who 5 or 6 years ago you wouldn't have wanted him in your locker room, and he's completely matured and taken. And I've talked to players who have played with him and have said he is. Sometimes that just happens, and let's give credit where credit's due. That's why I think it's a human thing too to think about. Where it's like when people get time. Where people get time and to grow and everything, and people can change positively. Not that Duchene was a bad person. I want to be clear on that. He wasn't a bad person, but there's a difference between being a me first guy and everything like that to now being what he is with Dallas, and it's impressive.
Okay, so the ice trucks have arrived in Chicago, getting ready for the Central Division tilt on New Year's Eve, where it'll be the Chicago Blackhawks against the St. Louis Blues. And it did make me begin to think, do you think we'll see another Winter Classic or maybe a winter game here in Dallas?
Or
is the list too long? I mean, will we see one in Florida?
I think there's Florida will, I believe there'll be something in Florida at some point. Florida and Tampa have not hosted one yet. Obviously, Tampa is very difficult to deal with the humidity to figure that out. I think there's also power to the novelty of it all, right? Like I remember I've talked to Brad Alberts about this before, where it's like one of the reasons that Cotton Bowl moment in 2020 was so wonderful is like it doesn't happen all the time. And I think from a Stars perspective and bidding for it, it's got to be the right fit, right? Like I don't know if you'd want I don't know, Gavin, I'll throw it back to you real quick. Like, would you want to do a game in Jerry World? To me, that's such a, and we can make jokes about the windows being open right now if we want to. Is there a, I wouldn't want to see a game in Jerry World. It's just it's just a big stadium with a big video board. It doesn't have the, it's not outdoors and it's not that so to me, I think more so in the Stars kind of tent pole big picture events to be involved in. I think it's going to be more so of at some point, I think the Stars are going to be in the first game in Mexico. And I think that's going to be, and I don't know when or where that'll happen. And I'm guessing right now it'll probably be, I would guess it might be against the Kings would be my guess. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is me just spitballing. I want to be clear right now. This is not me reporting anything. This is just me spitballing. I also wouldn't be surprised if the NHL was like, hey, let's go do a 2-game series in Mexico City where we do Kings, Ducks, and Stars, Golden Knights, right? Where it's like, hey, let's got some of the teams that are from the Southwest, have ties to the, have large Mexican American populations and do that. I mean, also you could include the Panthers in there as well, even though you can include the Panthers in that conversation as well. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point the Stars are involved in a game in Mexico. If and when that happens.
There are some interesting stadiums around here where SMU plays would be kind of fascinating. It's very intimate. The one that I always think would be, and they'd have to figure out like how to put stands on the other side, but Texas Motor Speedway would be really cool.
Maybe not. The problem is the size. Are you going to fit that's just so big?
Yeah. But it would be interesting for some of the smaller tracks, like Bristol, to host like a Nashville Predators game or something like that. I mean, they've pulled out or adjusted the track and played football there. So, I mean, I'm just fascinated. I like these kinds of bits. I will watch the Winter Classic, because I'm a hockey fan, but I don't know. I just love the aura. I've always been a Winter Classic. I think the sight lines are tough when you're there, but I think just watching it and the thought of snow maybe falling is a beautiful thing. So it just kind of brings us back to our childhood, I guess, and maybe that's why I like it so much.
Yeah, and I think it's the outdoor games. I think people have to start thinking about them as they're not necessarily. I think the Winter Classic is still a national game, but I think the outdoor games are more they're way more local events now than they were national events before. And I think the best way to look at them is to compare them to concerts, right?
Yep.
Where it's like, you know what? I don't go and watch, who's your favorite band, Gavin?
Oh, wow. We were talking about this last night and David Castillo was making fun of me. I've always been a fan of Live. I know they're old school, but yeah.
No, that's so you're going to if Live's playing a concert in Seattle, Washington, you're not going to watch it on TV, but if Live comes to Arlington, you're going to go see them. And I think that's the way to look at these outdoor games now. Think about them more like concerts, where it's like it's a big event. It's more for the locals. It's for the I always hate when people say, "Oh, we have too many outdoor games," because I think people look at them the wrong way. Where the Blue Jackets are going to host their first outdoor game this year, right at the Horseshoe.
Yeah,
it's against Detroit. I don't know if it's going to be great TV. It's not about the TV though. It's about bringing that thing to Columbus and the hockey community in Columbus, and think about it as like a big concert coming there. And to me, that is that's the way I look at these outdoor games now. And once I kind of changed my thinking on that, it definitely helps.
All right, quickly before we let you go, just going to play name game. Is there somebody on Sean's holiday wish list as far as acquisition for the Dallas Stars? Brock Nelson, Mikael Granlund, anyone else kind of pop up on your radar?
Yeah, this is actually someone else asked me this morning. So when I told them I'm going to do some more, my plan was to actually look into digging a little bit more this morning. So I'm going to defer a little bit. I'm going to answer this question for you a little bit more later in the week.
I've watched a lot of tape on Nelson, and I do like him. I think the puck finds him. Yeah. I love his shot. I love his accuracy. It's interesting because he doesn't explode when you see him on the ice. Obviously, he's a veteran and stuff like that, but he just seems to do everything right.
Yeah. I like Nelson. He's one that would be on my list, but I don't have a full list for you. Okay. Looking. And the other thing I want to say real quick to I want to give you credit, Gavin, real quick, just because it was I was on vacation last week. I was in Honduras. I was talking. Me and my wife were on the beach there and talked to another random couple from Wiley, Texas.
Nice.
And they weren't. They weren't. They've gone to a handful of Allen American games. They've only been to one Stars game, and they told me that they one of their favorite sports to go to in person is hockey, and they go to some Allen games. And so I told them to listen to the program. So just figured I wanted to add here. It's me doing it, and I don't know if it's organic or not, but to add to your list of places you want to travel to because people have talked about the show, you can add Honduras to the list.
Oh yes, yes, absolutely. I'm in, and I have. So as soon as you told me where you were, I researched and I said I'm in.
Yes,
absolutely beautiful island. Yes. So congratulations on that. You deserve to get away, take a break with your 15 things that you're doing at once, including covering the World Juniors for all of us. And you are appreciated this holiday season. I told David last night, you guys make Spits and Suds, so thank you for taking the time. And it's awesome to get these updates from Plymouth, Michigan, as far as Team USA. And I'm excited about the World Juniors. And if everyone could this holiday season, if you have a chance, subscribe to Sean at Shap Shots with some terrific information, especially as that trade deadline nears. And if he has an article in D Magazine, make sure you read that. At Sean Shapiro on Twitter. And what else do we have? We have the late game movie. That's a fun.
Oh yeah, let me give a quick shout out. I put this on Twitter yesterday, but I want to give a shout out. So the movie this last week it was. I want to make sure I get the name of it right. So my last week the late game was selected as part of the every year there's a sports film festival in Italy actually. And there was a it's called the Palladino de Oro Sport Film Festival. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but very exciting. The Sport Film Festival in the late game was honored as the best fiction film. Actually, my good friend Jeff Tyner, who wrote and directed the movie, we've had him on the show here before. He was in Italy for the festival, and he got to be there to accept the awards. So. I'm really happy for everyone involved in the movie, but really proud of my good friend Jeff. And you and I have had him on the show before. He put years of his life into that project, and see it all come together and see him honored for that made me really happy.
Man, I was hoping you were going to say the cast gets to go to Italy because we were going to hook you up with our favorite Spits and Suds Italian hockey listener, Florian Wieser, who plays for the professional Italian league out there. So I would have put you two together. But you know what?
Yeah. I did not get the trip, unfortunately, but the writer and director did. So,
that's awesome. Well, go back to work, sir. Thank you so much for taking these 30+ minutes and joining us, giving us some great Stars insight. And we will talk to you soon, Sean.
Always, Gavin. Talk to you soon.
Absolutely, and we're rolling along here on Spits and Suds and just putting out episode after episode, and that's because of you. Thanks for a great December. Remember, spread the word this holiday season. That could be the best gift for me. And just say, hey, there's a cool hockey podcast. It's called Spits and Suds. They have a lot of great guests, and together we're growing this thing, and that's awesome. So for Sean Shapiro, I'm Gavin Spittle. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day, everyone.